We're on Lee Canyon Road in the Mount Charleston Wilderness, and our goal is the North Sister. So we're going to go up there and explore and just see what's involved in summiting that mountain. I hear it's a little more difficult than the South Sister. And we are at a pullout before the address 5690. The reason I mention that is that there's a large sign that says 5690. You can't miss it. And that's probably the best marker for this parking area. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to head up this little gully right ahead, and we headed up the next gully last time, and I think we went a little too far because we had to backtrack. So we're going to head up this gully and just see if taking this ridge on the right side of the gully is going to be the way to go, and just streamline our way all the way up. So here we go. Okay, the gully quickly divides. I am going to take the right side here. The worst that could happen is I end up taking a huge avalanche slope. We will find out. But I think the right side is the way to go. So let's just find out. Okay, now we're heading up a ridge. Once we hit the summit of this ridge, we'll have more of an idea if we are on the correct ridge. I think we might be. And here's a 360. There is North Sister, or Sisters North, they call it. And then you can see around up toward Lee Peak area. And there's part of Mummy's Head. So here you see where we are, and we may still be, well, we may still be one ridge too soon, but we don't know. Let's get up to the top and take a look around. Well, I think we may have nailed it here. So far, things are looking good. This ridge, the middle of the ridge is very wide open. There are a few spots where you gotta duck, and other spots where you need to climb over stuff, but actually the ridge is not bad at all. And we're continuing up now, and through the trees we see the South Sister on the left, the North Sister on the right. So let's continue on up. Okay, after all that, I think I'm still one ridge too soon, and I need to head over to this ridge on the right, or north. And there is the North Sister up ahead. So yeah, let's go down the gully and then up the next ridge. That's going to be quite a climb, but I believe we need to do that. We're one ridge too soon here. Here we go. You know, on the other hand, I think I'm going to keep to this ridge to the south, and I think there might be a connector ridge that doesn't involve descending so far and reascending. We don't know for sure, but let's just test this ridge out a little further. Of course, we want to summit the upper ridge just to the right of Sisters North. And so that would be the correct ridge over there. But what I'm thinking is there's going to be a connector up here that's going to take me over there without having to descend and reascend so far. Let's just see what happens. Wow, I think it's good that I did not go over to the next ridge over there. It does look like this ridge is actually on the route to summit just to the north of Sisters North. There's Sisters North in the center, and there's Sisters South. And then looking around, we know we don't want to be on that ridge because we end up heading up towards Sisters South. We're looking around to Lee Peak, and then right into the sunrise, we see Mummy. That's the Mummy's Head area. There's the sun. There's the next ridge over, and I think that's one ridge too far. Now, if you were to have Black's Rock Sister as your goal, maybe this would be a great crossover point to go up that ridge. But I'm going to continue on up this ridge, and it looks like it's going to summit just to the north of Sisters North, just to the right. So let's continue on up. Very beautiful morning. This is, by the way, the third Saturday in August, to give you an idea of the time of year. The ground is just saturated, so when I get up to North Sister and I'm climbing steep stuff with rocks, boy, we just have to be very careful, because if anything could be loose, it's going to be loose after a series of thunderstorms and rains that we've had. So it's important to be aware of not only the weather conditions, but the conditions of the ground that you're walking on. So anyway, let's continue on up this ridge. It looks like the correct ridge that's going to take us on up to the main ridge just to the north of Sisters North. And this is that first ridge that we actually ascended. We just stayed on the ridge, right in the center of the ridge, and did a lot of weaving through bushes, but nothing really difficult so far. Let's continue. Okay, the ridges get a little bit complicated right here, but there's the North Sisters North, and there's Sisters South. And what we want to do is, yeah, it looks like we can continue right along this ridge, right up that center area, and we're going to summit just about where we need to summit this ridge that you see just to the right of Sisters North up there. It is good, definitely, that we weren't on the other ridge. Looks like there's a little bit of a rocky drop off there. Whoops, a little too far. There we go. Yeah, looks like there's a little bit of a rocky drop off. So, yeah, it turns out that we are on the exact correct ridge. So let's head on up. We have stayed on this ridge from the beginning, and it's guiding us right up without any avalanche slopes, which is really nice. A little weaving between the trees and the bushes, but nothing really bad. So here we go. As often happens when you're on a logical route, you end up seeing a trail, a very faint trail. You look very closely, straight in the center here. There's a very, very faint trail, meaning that others have taken this route. And like I said, we're going to ascend up to that high point, just in the center there. Maybe we'll need to jog at that point over to the right. We don't know. but and this looks like a potential connector to the next ridge. I've only done this once, and when I returned, I think I missed that connector up ahead between these two ridges on the way down. I missed it, and I ended up heading down this ridge over here from Black Rock Sister. And you see the avalanche slope? Yes, in order to reconnect with this correct ridge, and I don't think I ever fully reconnected with it last time. You got a serious avalanche slope there. And so the real key here is that you want to be on this ridge, and you need on the way down to make a jog. It would be to your right on the way down, or to the south, because you'll be probably descending that ridge there, only you want to jog over to this ridge right at this high point right in the center, in order to connect with this ridge, which is much more gradual and friendly. And then again, here is Sisters North and Sisters South, and there's Lee Peak. I'm not gonna circle too far more over, and there's Mummy's Head area. The reason I'm not circling too far is because the blazing sun is just beyond where I stopped the 360-degree circuit here of the camera. So yeah, let's continue on up to this high point, and then I think what we're going to need to do is jog over to the right and take that ridge on the right or north up to the high point just to the right of Sisters North. So far, yeah, things are very easy on this ridge, as long as you know which ridge to be on. And so not a real expenditure of energy yet. Okay, onward. Just to give you an idea what it's like on this ridge. A lot of weaving between the trees, but look at the openings. You can always find an opening between these trees on this ridge. So it's really not difficult. And just taking my time today. I'm only 10 days past a surgery. This has been the year of surgeries for me. Yeah, just 10 days past that. So I've been running about 5 miles a day, and so I'm in good shape for this experience, but definitely not wanting to run up this incline and dodge the trees at a running pace, if I could even do that. And then here you can see around. So yeah, as long as you stay in the center of the ridge. And just a while ago, we were down in this area. And that's that kind of bald area there is what we want to shoot for on the way down. So if we don't hit that right, we'll be on the ridge to our north and end up in avalanche slope territory. But along this ridge, it's just fairly gradual, and you just need to weave around the trees and bushes. Kind of look of spring here, which is really nice. I tend to hold on to phones for a number of years. My last phone was an Samsung S8. Lasted about 5 years, and it's still fairly decent condition. But now I've got an S20 Ultra, The camera is just awesome. The zoom is going to be better. The images may be even more crystal clear than what we've experienced previously. So watch for the quality here. Well, I'm still on that first ridge that we ascended from Lee Canyon Road, just to the right or north of that gully where we left the road. And the key is you get to the top of this ridge early on. You get to the center of the ridge, I should say. And then just stay on the ridge. Trust the ridge. Do not try to navigate over to the right if you think that that ridge over there is the better ridge, which I thought for a while. No, stay on this ridge. It's leading right up to that summit saddle, just to the right or north of Sisters North. And that's Sisters North right in the center. There is Sisters South. And here we have Lee Canyon below us. You can actually see a portion of, if you look very, very carefully, you can see a portion of the Bristlecone Pine Trail, the Forest Road area. I believe it's right in there. Yeah. And again, there's Lee Peak, and then there is the gradual summit ridge that, yeah, it's right there, right in the center. You see two ridges, the one on the right, left. The one on the left is that gradual ridge that we've ascended a few times now to the at the top of that ridge. The summit of that ridge is the North Loop Trailhead. Not trailhead. It's the North Loop Trail just below Lee Peak, maybe by 1 mile to 2 miles. And you can see those adventures where we summited from Lee Canyon. By the way, there is the ski area. We descended this ski area at one time, and I'll point all this out a little later when we get higher. But there is the North Ridge of Kyle Canyon, and we also ascended this area right up there, just to the right of that high point. We ascended by way of Foxtail Canyon, and that adventure is on Las Vegas area trails. So you see a lot of wilderness routes that we have discovered in Lee Canyon. Pretty cool. Okay, we'll do a complete 360, but you're going to be semi-blinded by the sun here. Look at this. This is just so beautiful. The sculptures of these bristlecone pine trees. And so, yeah, we're getting into the bristlecone pine altitude here. Still other pines around us, but yeah, it's just looking more and more beautiful as we ascend. So staying on this ridge, let's see if this takes us all the way up to that saddle just to the right or north of Sisters North. Here we go. Okay, now we see our first goal here, which is, this is the high point at the summit of this ridge that I've been on. And you can see, if you look to the left, you've got a direct upper ridge route right to Sisters North. So that's pretty cool. And then, of course, Sisters South right over here. So let's continue on up this ridge and end up right in this area. Okay, for the first time, Black Rock Sister is coming into view. A little closer look, thanks to the new zoom that I've got. Look at that. Wow. Okay. But we're just continuing on this ridge, and we're going to head directly up to this high point ahead. And then here you see Sisters North and Sisters South. And then pretty cool image of Lee Peak. You know, people that are unfamiliar with the wilderness worry about being in a place like this, like you're going to get lost or some animal's going to eat you. And of course that could happen. I've been off course a number of times, but in this case, just stick to the ridge and just basic wilderness navigation skills, always doing 360-degree views so you can see what things are going to look like on the return trip, because believe me, it looks like you're in a whole different world during the return trip. And then also, when you stick to a logical course, you get used to seeing where other people have been. And I actually have been following the faintest of trails here. And here you see it ahead. You got to look very carefully. You may not see a trail, but as you become used to navigating the wilderness, you can notice even the faintest disturbance of the rocks, which indicates people have passed this way before, and it's a kind of trail. So yeah, continuing on up. Here's a pretty beautiful portion of the trail. You can see directly ahead there's Black Rock Sister on the right, and a very beautiful arch to the left. Let's just zero in on that a little bit. Look at that. Wow. And then there's Black Rock Sister. So we're going to continue on up, and the key for the return trip is once you pass this arch on the way down, you really want to navigate over to this edge, I guess the right edge on the way down, the south edge of this ridge, and hug the south edge all the way down. We'll check that out a little later on our return trip, but yeah, somehow I got off course. I was right at this point on the way down, and then I ended up traveling over, I guess, a little bit to the left or north. I missed a jog over to the right, and so that's something to watch out for, because boy, I ended up in avalanche slope territory, and I was way off course, about a mile below my car on Lee Canyon Road by the time I made it there. So this is a very important point just below this arch, and of course we want to continue on up in this direction. So here we go. By the way, if you want to see a closer view of this arch, go to the Black Rock Sisters, Black Rock Sister page on LasVegasAreaTrails.com, and That's where I actually went under the arch and explored around the far side. But for today, yeah, we're heading up, continuing up this ridge because our goal today is Sisters North. Okay, onward. Continuing to ascend. There's another view of Black Rock Sister. And we're continuing up this ridge, and I got to say the navigation skills have only required that I stay in the center of the ridge, and at times I come upon a faint trail. As you can see, if you look very carefully, there's the faintest signs that people have passed through here, but you just stay, what looks logical, and weaving between trees and rocks, and this little trail will appear, disappear, reappear. So continuing on up, we're almost at that saddle at the summit of this ridge. Okay, here we are at the summit of that ridge we've been ascending. And let's look around and see what we can see up here. It's pretty easy to know which ridge to descend because we're at a summit of a double saddle area. Here's a saddle that goes downward toward the Black Rock Sister. And then on this side, another saddle descends toward Sisters North. Sisters South is just to the left of Sisters North. So, yeah, and let's look around, see what else we can see. A lot of things have become visible up here now that we're at the ridge summit. Here we have Max Peak, and then over in this direction, McFarland Peak. And then you can see the Las Vegas Valley. It's the valley through which the Highway 95 corridor passes on its way between Las Vegas and Reno. So there you get a little bit of an idea where we are. Let's take a better look at Sisters North. So we know we need to descend this saddle and then reascend. And I haven't summited Sisters North before, but I'm guessing, looking at the terrain here, that the summit approach might be on the, that more gradual looking ridge on the right of the summit. So we'll check that out. Alternately, I guess you could go straight up, but I'm thinking that if you attempted to ascend straight up this approach here, you would soon get into upper cliffs at the very top. Let's see if we can zoom in. Yeah, that just looks a little bit daunting right up there. So I am going to, at first, just scope out what that approach might look like along the right side or west side of Sisters North. So down the saddle and then on over to Sisters North. And of course, I'll be looking for the very faintest signs of trails. This is a fairly popular route. People will start across from Foxtail Canyon and that turnaround on Lee Canyon Road, and they'll go up through the picnic area, and that's across the road on the west side, and then ascend the South Sister, cross over between the South Sister and Sisters North. There is a saddle, and then I believe they summit the Sisters North on the west side, the right side, and then continue along this saddle, head over to the Black Rock Sister, which is in this direction, and then back to this point and down to Lee Canyon Road. And by the way, here is a good shot of Lee Canyon Road. Okay, let's continue on. Oh, by the way, yeah. There's Angel Peak in the center. Then moving over in this direction, that pointy mountain in the far distance is actually Gas Peak. Another closer shot of Angel Peak. And then up in this direction is Mummy's Head. And then through the trees over here, until I'm having fun with this zoom, is Lee Peak. Okay, here we are at the base of the saddle, and you can see where there's the summit of Sisters North, and yeah, maybe one could head up the tree line there and then angle around and up to the summit. We don't know for sure. We'll maybe explore that, but I'm going to start by seeing if there's a kind of route that angles around to the west side, the right side, and then just give you an idea where we are at the base of this saddle. McFarland Peak. Actually, I think that's Max Peak, and McFarland Peak is over here in the center. And you can see around us, it's fairly wide open, this area. Just angle around weave around the rocks and the trees, and you're fine. Okay, so the puzzle is, what would be the summit approach for Sisters North? Okay, this is what I was hoping for. If you look very carefully at the ground here, you can see the faintest of trails, and I'm hoping that this will lead right up to the summit. Wouldn't that be nice? We'll find out. So that would save a lot of experimentation. But yeah, we're heading up the saddle now toward the Sisters North. And just look around here. So beautiful up here. peaceful, beautiful. People think the wilderness is a scary place, but this is the wilderness. Very welcoming, beautiful. Well, I wasn't expecting this. The trail is getting even more pronounced, and there's even some cairns to mark the trail, so we know we're on probably that popular route. And there's the summit, so who knows, we may actually make the summit today on this first attempt. Okay, first big question. Here is a huge rock, and do we go to the left or the right? And actually that's answered right up ahead with this little cairn. So I gotta say that so far on this ascent, things have been marked pretty well. And let's see if we can turn. We're on a precarious spot here, but you can see there's actually a trail there heading downward. And then over to what you're looking at is just below the Black Rock Sister, that high point below us. But yeah, and let's see, is that another trail? I wonder if that's one that circles the mountain, but nah, I'm gonna head straight up this way. So far things are much simpler than I expected. The trail is pretty well defined, and there are cairns at points where you're wondering which way to go. Okay, I'm at a point where I've got a little bit of stability, not much, but yeah, here's that rock that we remember on the way up. We headed around the right side of the rock, and yeah, the key is just hug the very edge of this rock and continue on up to this point. Yes, it's steep, and yes, the rocks are loose and they're wet, so so you got to watch out. And there we've got Black Rock Sister. So that gives you an idea where we are. Here is Lee Canyon Road, and then above it, that faint pointy peak, there is Gas Peak. And let's see if we can turn around here. Yeah, it's okay, but it's definitely not the best stability. And look up that way. I think we just stay to the right of this rock ahead, and looks like it's going to lead us right up to the summit. We can't be too far below the summit, but we'll find out when we get up there. So let's continue on up. That is the only place I can use two hands to turn off the camera. Whoa, that last stretch was straight up the side of the mountain here. Going back is going to be interesting. You definitely don't want to get a slide going, because there's a sheer cliff to your right as you are descending. And there you can see down to the saddle and over to Black Rock Sister. So let's just, yeah, this was quite an ascent. I was hanging on for dear life. Here's the summit box, and now we're looking around, and let's look at some landmarks here. There is the Sheep Range right in the center. There in the distance is Gas Peak, that little pointy, faint peak in the horizon. Here's Lee Canyon Road. Angel Peak. And of course, Mummy's Head. No need to zoom in, but just for the heck of it, let's go ahead and zoom, because what we're looking at here is a summit route right up through this passageway and on up to that area between the two summits. If it's anything like the North Sister, the way I just ascended, wow. It'll be pretty thrilling. Okay. And here we're looking up Lee Canyon. That grassy area that you see is Lee Meadow, and just to the left of it is the beginning of the mid-summit ridge, meaning the summit of Kyle Canyon, and it goes right up that ridge there. You can see the ski area below to the right. That's the ridge that we took to ascend to Lee Peak, and then you see Lee Peak on the left, Charleston Peak on the right. Let's continue looking around here. There's South Sister, and one big question is, if you were to make that circuit, and wow, I don't know. I'm looking at that, and if you were to summit that area of the summit and then head around and down, wow, it's just a real question. What would the route be that would be doable? Anyway, there you have Sisters South, and a lot of people have done that, so it's not impossible. And then here you see the ridge upon which the Bonanza Trail passes. And then here is McFarland Peak. And then on over to, I believe, this one here is Bonanza Peak, but we're just not sure. Maybe it's the further one. We just don't know at this point. But one thing I can say is that here is Max Peak. And you can see the summit approach would be on the right side, and we reached the I think it was right in this area here where we needed to continue on up. And I don't know exactly how that would go, but that's on the Max Peak page. Once I figure all these out, maybe I'll do a streamlined trip to show the correct route, but for now, just a lot of experimentation. And here you can see the Highway 95 corridor between Las Vegas and Reno. And we're also testing the audio for wind protection. So if there is a problem, I'll get a wind muffler for this camera. And then Lee Canyon Road, Black Rock Sister. And then here's a higher portion on Lee Canyon Road. So there you have it. A good summary of this area. I don't think I'm going to go out on that ledge ahead. I know probably everyone that's been up here has gone over there. It doesn't look like it's too difficult, but I've hung above eternity enough today that I just need to slide back down the way I came for now. And that's going to be challenging enough for me. Okay. Well, down we go, back down to the saddle. And hugging the rocks and trying not to lose traction along the way. And looking again at the saddle here. We can now trace that ridge we used as an ascent ridge, and it heads straight down this way. Definitely want to take the definitely. Here's the real key to this ridge is you need to cross over to this area here and then head on down that area. Do not keep heading down this way, which will lead to avalanche slopes and lots of I don't know, getting off course, and then you get down to Lee Canyon Road way below where you started. So yeah, the key is if you can see the bald spot below, right in the center there, that's where you want to be. So how to get there, we'll find out, but definitely you want to be there, which means that you kind of angle to the right. Okay, there you have it. I missed it last time. I'm not going to miss it this time. Okay, to give you an idea of what we're descending now, it's a bit harrowing. It was tough enough on the way up, but wow. Yes, we're going straight down this opening here. Definitely a major chute. Wow. Okay, so anyway, yeah, let's just see what happens. Yes, here's another stretch. As you can see, it just goes straight down. So hanging on for dear life and descending this chute. I don't dare turn around all the way to demonstrate what I just came down. Just take my word for it. It looks like this, maybe a little steeper. This is a great sight. I think I'm rounding the base of this rock. I've hugged the edge of the rock on the way down. There are a few more solid holds. And I believe once I round the edge of this, that it's pretty much just a steep trail, but we don't know. We're going to find out when we get around the corner. And again, I don't dare look upward, but I will show you the angle here that you can see by the trees. Pretty substantial. Okay, continuing. Okay, yes, around that corner was the actual trail. Let's see if I can turn. Wow. Okay, yeah, so I just continue on this trail down to the saddle. So we're actually on semi-terra firma here. Wow, that was a thrilling little ride down that last portion from the summit to the edge of this rock, which incidentally, when you're heading up, you head up the right side and you want to hug that rock as much as you can, as close as you can, because that's where the holds are. Okay, well, down the saddle, and I think our most challenging experience today is past us, behind us. Okay, we're now in the saddle. There is the high point where I summited that ridge to the saddle. I'm going to actually angle over this way and begin to find that ridge downward. So we'll see how that goes. We definitely want to make that entire ridge this time, where last time I descended, I spun off to the left and ended up on avalanche slopes. And there is Sisters North. And by the way, I'm going to go up to the high point because I'll have a better view and then I can trace the route I took to the summit. Okay, here's a better perspective. I'm on the saddle and the route that I took up to the summit is right up through that band of trees to the right of the cliff face. And wow, that is steep. And I met some climbers. And let's see. Yeah, here they are on the summit now. Anyway, one of them had done this before. At least one of them. There was probably about 10. And they said, yes, you head down to the right or west, and then once you get to the saddle between the south sister and the north sister, then you begin to traverse that saddle at first on the west and then over cross over to the east, and then work your way up to the south sister. You don't want to be on the very upper edge of that ridge between the two sisters, because it's sheer cliffs up there. So you actually are going to skirt the area on the east side of those cliffs and then work your way up to the summit of the south sister, and then down basically by the route that you can see on the Sisters South page of LasVegasAreaTrails.com. I've made it up to the summit of Sisters South and Sisters North now. Have not done the saddle between yet. So, wow, there's a lot still to happen. Let's get another shot of those climbers resting on the summit. Yeah, those are true climbers. Okay, let's find the ridge down and see if we can retrace the way we came up, because that was an awesome gradual route. Okay, here we go. Okay, we are below the arch, and that means this may actually be the crossover point to the next ridge. So yes, I'm heading down to my right to catch the next ridge over, and hopefully that'll be a lot better than last time when I stayed on the left or south ridge and ended up on major avalanche slopes. So let's just see. That's my guess. And there is the there's where we're headed, right down in that bald area. We want to be walking on that. So let's see if we can cross over here and angle over to the next ridge over. Here we go. Well, I'm thinking I overcompensated and maybe shot too far over to the right or to the south, and yet I find myself on a little trail. So let's continue on this and see where it leads. And then just to get a view around us. And I'm just wondering if I need to be on this ridge to the left. I don't know. We'll just stay on this trail for now and see where it leads. There are some angry clouds moving in and thunderstorms were predicted, but we're not way up in the mountains now, so we should be okay. It is actually a pretty nice little trail, and I believe it's going to lead down to Lee Canyon Road. The only question is, where on Lee Canyon Road will it come out? So we will see. But yeah, very nice little trail. Well, I can't tell you how I got onto this trail, but it's continuing on, complete with cairns. So let's just keep on heading down, see where this comes out on Lee Canyon Road. I'm thinking that maybe I'll be a bit below where I originally got onto Lee Canyon Road, but hey, we don't know. And the trail is working out really well, so we're just going to stay on it. Okay, I'm very curious to see where this little trail with the cairns comes out on Lee Canyon Road. Definitely we're heading toward Lee Canyon Road because there are the cliffs of Mummy's Head on the other side of the road. I still think that by the time we hit Lee Canyon Road, I'm going to be somewhat lower on the road than I started, so I'll need to backtrack up the road. But I was just curious to see where this trail leads. Okay, I see Lee Canyon Road through the trees. You can't see it right now, but I also see what I think is that number 5690. So if that is indeed it, we pretty much nailed it with this trail. But we don't know for sure. We're going to find out real soon. Get a 360. Yeah, that would mean on the way that I ascended that ridge on the right. So we are definitely, you can even hear the cars down there. We're definitely on track to hit Lee Canyon Road and maybe very close to where we parked. That would be really nice. Okay, and here's Lee Canyon Road. Question is, where are we on Lee Canyon Road? Are we way off and we have to do some backtracking? Or are we right where we need to be? Let's just see. Oh my gosh. And there is the beast. So we descended the exact wash that we ascended, and what we did is there's the wash, and so there's the trail in the wash that actually leads all the way up, but we took this ridge on the right side or the north side of the wash, and I really like the ridge because definitely on the way it just has a better view and you can see your destination. Down in the wash you can't see a whole lot, but the trail was rather refreshing after all the climbing I've done. So anyway, yeah, perfect navigation. Another thing perfect about this trip is the timing. It is just now starting to rain, which means those thunderstorms are just now reaching this area. And I'm so glad that I wasn't up on the Sisters North when the thunderstorm hit. So I'd say that within another hour or so, yes, we will be experiencing thunderstorms in this area. And by the way, there is Sisters North. So we'll call it a day today. What an adventure.